What if Deku joined Team JPDE? Chapter 34. Pryobsidan Blob. Sunday. Day 105. Oh, wow. This is quite a lot of stuff. And you know how to use each and every one of these, Mr. Polendana, David asked. A few are actually of my personal design, David. Shame you won't be able to see them in action, today, Enrico said. I'm honestly befuddled you couldn't make any further progress on your own, Papa Penny said. Same. But that's the thing when studying aura. We may try and perfect and develop more and more advanced tools to analyze it. But the perfect machine for such a task already exists, Enrico said. The human soul, Jack said. The soul/body combination, to be precise, but yes, Enrico said. Were they not enough for my stuff as well? No worries. They all know, Evelyn said. I see. No. The changes brought to your aura by the Possessor Grim weren't as subtle as whichever may have been brought upon by David's aura. First, they seem to be irreversible, at least with our current technology, Enrico said. Go figured. And second, Evelyn asked. Second. It's getting stronger, Enrico said. Stronger? Stronger how, Evelyn asked. To be precise, Enrico said. Oh wow. Think of all the weapon mods I could make with all this stuff, Ruby said, interrupting Enrico. Ruby. Friends first, maybe, Tai said. Your guests have arrived, Dr. Seal said. Typical Ruby Rose, Deku said. A good morning to all of you. I'm Tai Young Xiaolong, Tai said. Also known as my super duper papa. Hi, guys. And these are Izuku, Jack, Evelyn and Penny, Ruby said. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Xiaolong, Jack said. Oh, just call me Tai. Being called Mr. Xiaolong from 4 different directions gets tiring after a while, Tai said. Heya, then Evelyn said. It's incredibly auspicious to make your acquaintance, Papa of Ruby, Penny said. Thanks, I guess, Tai said. See. Told you Penny is like 4 vocabularies in one, Ruby said. It's nice to meet you, Deku said. A pleasure to meet you, Sir, David said. Pleasure's all mine, David. So I hear to semblance has even Enrico Polendana stunted, Tai said. Something like that. I'm honored to be able to partake in your expertise, Mr. Xiaolong, Enrico said. So, how are we doing this exactly, Evelyn asked. Well, first, there's the non-disclosure agreement, Enrico said. I'm sorry, Tai asked. The non-disclosure what, Ruby asked. Non-disclosure agreement. It's a legally binding contract that establishes a confidential relationship. Basically, it's a pinky promise you can't break with Sued, Deku said. Oh, Ruby said. Sorry to put you on the spot like this, Mr. Xiaolong. There's no actual paperwork, Jack said. But I've actually, Enrico said. Papa Penny said. Thing is, we would like the nature of David's semblance to remain a secret. Seeing as how you're Ruby's dad, your word will be enough, Jack said. Oh. I see. Well, consider my lips sealed then. On my daughter's life and my honor, Tai said. But why must it remain a secret? That I think, Ruby asked. It's a little more than that, Ruby. Sorry, it's a secret, David said. Wait a minute, you're keeping it a secret from me, Ruby asked. Sorry, sugar. We know you, and David's semblance is so cool you wouldn't be able to keep your mouth shut about it, Evelyn said. That only makes me wanna know even more, Ruby yelled. Alright. Let's just get on with it before Ruby start throwing a tantrum, Tai said. David, you'd better have prepared a basket of strawberries, Ruby said. I will need to be alone in the room with each person, to minimize interferences from other auras. I will call you inside one at a time. Let's start with Miss Polendana, all right, Tai said. The others then left the room, leaving Tai and Penny in the lab. Well, since you're not going to tell me your secret, and I don't want to stand around here waiting, I'm gonna go. See you guys, Ruby said. See ya, Ruby, David said. See you around, Deku said. Goodbye, Ruby, Jack said. Go have a nap to calm down, Sugar, Evelyn said. Nope, Ruby said. Ruby then left the lab ship. So, I guess he's going to have to know, Deku said. Yes. Though he does not need to know the whole story. We'll just say that your semblance has given you the auras and semblances of the past users, Enrico said. You sure he'll believe it, Deku asked. If worded correctly, maybe, Enrico said. Well. Such confidence in that statement, Evelyn said. Well, the Shani semblance is passed down through the bloodline. So it could be believable that a semblance can be passed to a chosen user, Jack said. I hope it is, Deku said. Another thing. How do you feel about Seal finding out about your unique power, Enrico asked. Why do you ask, Deku asked. I have a suspicion that she'll find out on her own soon. So I feel it's best to inform her now before she finds out by herself, Enrico said. I guess it's for the best she finds out from the source. Have her come in when it's my turn and we'll give her the same story and see how she reacts. Then we can move forward from there, Deku said. Very well, Enrico said. One by one the others were called in to have their aura examined. David had just come out of the lab and now it was Deku's turn. Well. He seems okay with it, David said. Okay with what, Deku asked. Deku realized what David meant. Oh. Well, that's good at least, Deku said. Deku then entered the lab, followed by Enrico. Sorry for entering, Mr. Xiaolong, but there's something you need to know before doing an aura examination on Izuku, Enrico said. Oh. Is this something else like David's semblance, Tai asked. Yes. In both its peculiarness and it needs to be kept secret, Enrico said. My lips will remain sealed, Tai said. Thank you, Mr. Xiaolong, Deku said. No problem. So what is it, Tai asked. You'll find out soon. We're just waiting for a third party, Enrico said. Seal then entered the room. You called for me, Dr. Seal said. Do you remember when I told you one of Team JPDDE's members has a special power, Enrico asked. I do, Seal said. Well then sit down and don't move until I say so. Afterwards I'll try and answer any questions you may have, Enrico said. Yes, Sir, Seal said. So? I don't have a normal semblance, Deku said. Tai and Seal were then informed about Deku's power. Afterwards Enrico took Seal out of the room, allowing Tai to examine Deku's aura. Tai had been examining his auras for close to an hour. His gaze was so intensive. Deku wondered what he's seeing and feeling. Tai had him manipulate his auras in a couple completely new ways for him. He even got him to try and manipulate his auras in 2 different places, but he found it difficult to do. I understand why you'd want to keep this a secret, Izuku. You can put everything back on. I've seen enough, Tai said. Alright. Thanks, Deku said. Deku then put his clothes back on. So, does it look bad or something, Deku asked. Hard to say. I've never seen anything like this. I was a bit worried that the multiple auras would lead to problems. But you seem fine and they have seemed to assimilate. Thought, tell me how many auras you will have, Tai asked. 9, Deku said. So it wasn't inference. Even though you don't have access to them, the locked aura pools are still noticeable to an examination, Tai said. I see. And thanks again for keeping this a secret, Deku said. It's no problem at all. Now, you can run along. I can hear someone tapping their foot quite impatiently outside. Mr. Polendina will tell you everything once we're finished, Tai said. I see. Thanks for your help then, Deku said. Deku extends his hand towards Tai. It was my pleasure, Izuku. And, could I ask you to do something for me? Tai asked. Oh. Sure, what is it? Deku asked. At least wait until you've heard the request. Nothing much. You seem like a good kid, but both you and David. Just treat my daughter right, okay? Tai said. We will, Mr. Xiaolong. Ruby has been nothing but great to us since day one, Deku said. I'm glad. Still, of all the first relationships she could have gotten into, Tai said. Sorry about that, Deku said. She is my little girl, after all. Also, you seem to be very close to my little son Dragon. Just make sure to treat her right as well. You wouldn't like her when she's upset, Tai said. At first Deku didn't know Tai was talking about, but then he realized. I don't want to ever upset her, Deku said. Deku then exited the lab. Finally. What took you so long? Titania asked. Titania. Hi. You've come to pick me up, Deku asked. Duh. Come on, your stuff is already on the bullhead, Titania said. My stuff? Wait, we're going to peak, Deku asked. Where else? Come on, I want to go sit already, Titania said. But it's almost lunchtime. We won't have any time to, Deku said. Peach got us authorization. We're staying the night in Peak, Titania said. Where? What? Deku asked. Titania took Deku by the hand and lead him out of the lab ship and onto the bullhead to Peak. Professor Peach, Deku said. Yes, my second receptacle of Y chromosome in this area, Peach said. What exactly have you been telling Miss Goodwitch has been going on, in your reports? Deku asked. Oh, no outright lies, Peach said. This is going to come back and bite you in the arse, Evelyn said. Probably. But enough about hypothetical arse whoopings. Miss Polendina, Titania, are you ready up there? Peach asked. The mechanism is cleaned and properly working, Penny said. Why do I have to be the lever mule, here? Titania asked. Wonderful. Then gather round and be prepared, students, for this is an auspicious moment. After more than 10 years. Someone is going to enter Peak from the main gate, Peach said. The gate of Peak then opened, and the group entered Peak. This city is kind of pretty, huh? Titania said. Yes. Too pretty. The streets. The trees. The lamplights. Everything looks as good as new, Jack said. There doesn't seem to be any negative signs of human presence, like dirt or erosion of the pavement. But all the positive signs of it are here, Peach said. Seriously. This place is kept better than Vale's main street. It's giving me the creeps, Evelyn said. Makes two of us, David said. Even if everything was overhauled. In 10 years, the fauna should be at least growing in crevasses in the roads and buildings, Deku said. Let's stick together. No one goes anywhere alone, and we do not wander inside buildings yet. That goes double for you, Professor Jack said. Oh. Teacher just wanted to see if any of the houses had a lab, Peach said. Even the shrubbery is being taken care of, David said. Yeah. But my skin's crawling. This isn't natural, Titania said. Yeah, it's unnerving. This pristineness without someone to take care, David said. Don't be a moron, there must be a caretaker of some kind. These plants are alive and growing, no, Titania said. You're right. Then what do you mean by not natural, David asked. Where are the bugs, Titania asked. Oh, my gods, you're right, David said. For all intents and purposes these things could be made out of plastic. They are just here as decoration, Titania said. This is preposterous. This obelisk clearly had a plaque. They got smoothed out, but there are still signs of the holes for the bolts, Jack said. That seems unnecessarily mean. What did these people do to this boss guy, Evelyn asked. Evelyn then activated her semblance. Evelyn, don't rewind it. We can do it if we can't find out, Jack said. I know. I just wanted to see. To the people of Peak from the royal family of Vale. For showing what human hardiness and ingenuity can overcome, every day of their lives, Evelyn said. The royal? You mean the last king's relatives, Jack asked. Yup. I think I get how the project of building a place like this got funded in the first place, Evelyn said. Why? It's not like the world wouldn't notice that the inhabitants had disappeared. Why go to such lengths to erase their presence from Peak, Jack asked. This should be a residential quarter, Deku said. Yes, it seems to be made mostly of houses. Or Peach said. Why do you sound disappointed? Professor Pen asked. Well, to unveil the mysteries of this city, a normal inhabitation won't do. It's not like we're gonna find random recordings or notes left around. We need a place where people would keep records, Peach said. Oh, I see. Well, then we should probably look for a hospital or a clinic, Penny said. Indeed. Wish we had a map of Peak in the past. That could at least give us a hint as to where to start looking, Peach said. Alright. Let's make the point of the situation. The city is in pristine condition, but there doesn't seem to be anyone living in it, Jack said. Let alone people. There are no bugs either. It's like this place exists in a hazmat suit, Titania said. Also, it seems like the limit of out-liberated area so far is at the end of Main Street. Afterwards, the debilitating field is acting up again, Peach said. So I guess we should keep to this area for now. Explore before trying to venture further into the city, David said. Still, they even removed the street signs, so we're left to wander aimlessly, Evelyn said. Not necessarily. I'm positive I can get at least a rough estimate of the urban planning with enough time, Penny said. That will do, Penny. Thanks, Jack said. Now, we need to find a building we can use as a base camp, somewhere to fall back to in case of trouble. The further we get from the walls, the more important such a place will be, Deku said. And we also need to find records, Jack said. My thoughts exactly, Miss Ivory, Peach said. Medical records. Diaries. Anything left behind that may help us decipher this mystery. Especially those relating to the days before the disappearance. Unless it literally happened overnight, there must have been some signs that something was wrong. They probably missed them, but we could make use of them now, Jack said. Roger that. While we wait for Penny to make us a map, should we go through the building in order, David asked. One at a time, starting with the one's closet to the gate and fanning out, Jack said. No, a mysterious voice said. That wasn't me, Evelyn said. Evelyn, shush, Jack said. You're going to leave. Now, the mysterious voice said. This sounds, Titania said. You've grossly overstayed your welcome. You've broken one of my windows. You've mishandled my gate. And now you're dirtying my roads. Leave. Or I will remove you, the mysterious voice said. Titania then felt a sharp pain in her body. Titania. What's wrong, Penny asked. Sorry, mysterious voice. But that is not an option, Jack said. You won't leave, the mysterious voice said. If you know about what we've been doing, you know that we've been doing nothing but fight. Did you really think threatening us would work, Jack asked. We're not going anywhere until we have what we came for. So do your worst, David said. We'll be able to handle anything you throw at us. How do you think we got this far, Deku said. I thought as much. But cleaning up is always such a bother, the mysterious voice said. Metal then liquefied around them. The blobs of metal then began to move. Ah! You! Gross, Evelyn yelled. Is that Pryobsidan, Jack asked. Liquid Pryobsidan. Moving liquid Pryobsidan, Peach asked. So much of it, David said. The liquid Pryobsidan start to come together. Soon a small mound had formed, with it growing and growing. The more Pryobsidan came together. The blob of Pryobsidan then began to take shape. What the fuck, Evelyn shouted. What on earth is that thing? Deku shouted. Not an animal and not a Grim, that's for sure, Jack shouted. One of your relatives, Titania, Evelyn asked. All Titania could do was writhe around in pain. Titania, you're hurting. What's wrong? Penny asked. I will take care of her, Miss Polendina. You think about our guest, Peach said. Roger, Penny said. Well, at least it's straightforward, for once, Jack said. No subterfuges, no divide and conquer, no special fields. That's our target, David said. And I even got some pent-up aggression to vent. How lucky, Evelyn said. Maybe defeating it will help Titania, too, Penny said. Then let's take this thing down quickly, Deku said. Team Jade. Take it down, Jack shouted. Over by the front gate of Peak, a small girl with white skin and hair was sitting on a staff, floating in the air. Stop this. Right now, Amber said. How did you find me? The girl asked. Home. You can see me and hear me. Then I was right. You use magic, Amber said. Who are you? The girl asked. Just a stowaway. My name is Amber. And you are attacking my friend, Amber said. Deku and Jack had gone in to punch the monster, but as their fists just sunk into it. Oh shit, Jack said. With his other hand, Deku used Black Whip to pull himself out of the monster, and then pulling Jack out with Black Whip from his freed hand. Seems like normal attacks are useless against this thing, Deku said. Unless there's a way to make it susceptible, Jack said. Ijuku. Can't you blast it away with a 100% punch? David asked. A sound suggestion. Can you do it, Ijuku? I suppose so. I mean, All Might did it to a similar type of villain, Deku said. Then give him a Detroit smash, Iju, Evelyn said. Deku then accessed the past user's aura pool. He then charged at the monster again, this time using 100% in his right arm. He punched the monster, and this time the monster splatted from the force of the impact and blobs of Pryobsidan flew away due to the air pressure. This attack drained about half of Deku's full aura reserves. It appears that you've severely underestimated them, Amber said. I believe the saying goes. Don't count your chickens before they hatch, the girl said. The liquid Pryobsidan then began to reform. Well, that didn't work, Deku said. Hit it again, Jack said. That's not a good idea. It'll just reform again and I'll be out of the fight, Deku said. Damn, Jack said. It appears that we need to destroy the Pryobsidan to stop it from reforming, Penny said. Well, as teacher says. Time to experiment, Evelyn said. I'll take care of the experimenting, David said, pulling out several types of dust crystals. Team Jade then start to experiment on ways to damage the monster. At first, Penny's laser beam seemed to be the best way at chipping down at the monster. They then found out that freezing parts of the monster made it susceptible to normal attacks, as the frozen parts could be hit, and when they were broken off, the Pryobsidan did not reform. Bit by bit they began to chip away at the monster. Think we've chipped away at it enough? David asked. Affirmative. Its mass has been reduced by 64.84%, Penny said. And no more Pryobsidan is coming its way, for some reason. Let's end this in one blow, Jack said. You've got a plan? Evelyn asked. Cover me. I need to focus, Jack said. Your semblance. You're going to turn us all into popsicles, Evelyn said. Not if I focus. I've been training, carrots, Jack said. Alright, I'll be the bait, Evelyn said. Mind if I join you, Jack? I want to try making a popsicle as well, Deku said, holding 2 ice dust crystals in his hand. Jack nodded. I'll slow him down, David said. I'll provide ranged support, Penny said. Sounds like a plan. Let's do this, Evelyn said. Why can't I hit you, the girl asked. Because I don't have a body to hit. Guess you've never fought a ghost before. Or another magic user. Now that I think about it, neither did I, Amber said. The girl then made Pryobsidan leap at Amber, but it just phased through her. Again. If controlling this metal is the extent of your abilities, you will never be able to do anything to me, Amber said. The girl said. While yes. I think I'm starting to feel my magic again, Amber said. Amber attacked the girl with her magic. You missed. Try again for a lion, Evelyn asked. I'm ready. Are you, Jack? Deku asked. Done. Get out of the way, Jack shouted. You mean me? Evelyn asked. I mean all of you, Jack yelled. Penny, David and Evelyn then got out of the way. Ice Age, Jack shouted. Flash freeze, Deku yelled. Oh, they've even got cool names, Evelyn said. Jack and Deku then completely froze the monster. There was also now a large sheet of ice on the ground leading to the monster and pillars of ice encasing it. Okay, now I get why they needed the names. You two froze up something fierce, David said. And with minimal collateral damage. You're getting better with your semblance, I'm almost jealous, Evelyn said. Huff. Took a lot out of me. And just train it, carrots, Jack said. I can't exactly see the future harder, you know, Evelyn said. My attack was slower than it should be and less powerful, Deku said. What are you talking about? That was Evelyn said. Flash freeze is supposed to work like flash fire. The temperature did drop low enough and there's too little ice, Deku said. Ijuku. The left side of your body is covered in ice, Evelyn shouted. Don't worry, Deku said. He then crushed a fire dust crystal in his right hand, and the ice began to melt. Sometimes, you seem like a different being, Jack said. Well. I am technically an alien, Deku said. Should we apply the finishing touch to the demolition of our enemy? David Penny asked. Sure. Together, David asked. On the count of 3, Penny said. David and Penny then shattered the monster. My monster, the girl said. Looks like David and his teammates took care of it. Guess you can't do two things at the same time with that metal, can you? Amber asked. You, the girl said. Are you just mad because you damaged the streets for nothing, or is it slighted pride I see? Amber asked. The girl flew away. Probably both, Amber said. Where's Titania and Professor Peach? Deku asked. Probably didn't want to stick around for the collateral damage and took refuge into one of the buildings, Jack said. Question is which one, though? Evelyn asked. I'm sorry to say I wasn't surveying our surroundings during the fight, Penny said. That's fine, Penny. We can just give Professor Peach a call, and David said. It's alright, I saw where your friends went. They entered a large building further to the right, up the stairs and along the road. From the signs outside, it looks like a clinic, Amber said. Thank you, Amber. Didn't realize you had come, David said. So this is what you look like, Deku said. Wait. You can see me now? Amber asked. Yeah. It's nice to finally see your beautiful face, Deku said. Thanks, Amber said. Wait, Amber. You mean this is your imaginary friend? Evelyn asked. Oh. Hello there. Nice to, meet you face to face, Penny said. You guys can also see her, now? David asked. Clear as day. Holy. How? Jack asked. You can all, Amber said. Amber fled in a plume of fire. Oh, come on, Amber, David said. So she's gone. Not just us gone? Evelyn asked. Yeah, she got cold feet, I guess, David said. Guess suddenly have others seen her scared her, Deku said. More about that later, though. You heard what she said, David said. Let's go find Titania and Prof Peach, Jack said. Team JPDE then went to look for the clinic Amber was talking about. They soon found it after following Amber's directions. Hey, Prof. You inside or what? Evelyn asked. Indeed we are, Miss Damerot. Doors unlocked, come on in, Peach said. Team JPDE then entered the clinic. This place doubled as a pharmacy or drugstore, it seems, Jack said. Being so far away from Vale, it makes sense they would make their own medicine, Deku said. And you wouldn't believe how durable they are. The expiration dates on these substances are in order of decades, Peach said. Will you stop shouting? Titania complained. Titania, are you well? Penny asked. That goes for everyone. Ow 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 ow, Titania yelled. Titania, how are you feeling? Penny asked. Like my body stopped trying to pull itself apart. Got one hell of a headache though, Titania said. My theory is that Titania's body hasn't completely turned into that of a human yet, at a deep level. Which is why, when whoever attacked us commanded Pryobsidan to gather and create that monster, her body was affected, Peach said. I don't know who that was, but they'd better not let me get my hands on them, Titania said. You're still a skank. But I'm happy you're alright, Evelyn said. We should probably avoid moving Titania for a while. Penny, Professor Peach. You stay with Titania. We're going to transfer some material from the base camp, Jack said. You want to use this clinic as a base camp? David asked. Yeah. I mean, if the mysterious voice hates damage to its city so much, I don't think she's going to attack us in any of the buildings, Jack said. Makes sense. Wish I could have taken a look at them, though, Evelyn said. All we know is that they are female. And young, I guess from that voice, David said. Let's worry about who they are later. We've got a base to build, Deku said. Back at Beacon. Have a safe trip back, Mr. Xiaolong, Enrico said. Thanks, Mr. Polendina. Wish you all the best in your research. Seal Tai said. Have a pleasant day, Mr. Xiaolong, Seal said. Mr. Polendina. What do you plan to do with the boys? Tai asked. Why, they are people, Mr. Xiaolong. You do things with objects. Also, my daughter loves and trusts the both of them. That's more than enough for me to believe in the wholesomeness of their characters, Enrico said. You're right. We should trust in our children, shouldn't we? Tai said. We can, but to show them the road and provide them with the right tools, Enrico said. True. Goodbye, then, Tai said. Should I make contingency plans for Dik Begis and Midoriya? Professor Seal asked. Seal, Enrico said. Professor, I'm serious. Just like Penny, Mr. Dik Begis and Mr. Midoriya are both existence that cannot be left unplanned for, considering what we've discussed. And what we found out about Dik Begis' semblance, Seal said. Like Penny. The boys hardly possess world-ending potentials, Enrico said. How can you say that with a straight face? Seal asked. Simple. Even with humanity wiped out, the world would keep spinning, no, Enrico said. I really don't get dark humor, Professor Seal said. You will. With age, Enrico said. At the safe house. I'm back, Howard said. Welcome back, Howard. I'm surprised you could come back on your own, Weza said. A pleasant side effect of the boss's gift, Howard said. I see. So you managed to meet expectations. Marvelous, Weza said. Meet? Oh, on the contrary. I'd say I exceeded them, Howard said. Oh, you. What's wrong with your face? Oh my gods, you're the guy I have to sleep on the couch for. This is bullshit. You obviously don't need beauty sleep, you're a lost cause, Andrea asked. Weza, who's the little girl? Howard asked. This is Andrea Damerot, the collaborator I asked Thiller and Bella to acquire for the team, Weather said. Did you say Damerot? Howard asked. Oh, now I remember you. You're the guy Evelyn played for a fool. Your face was hilarious. WTF, she's reading my mind. No, my childhood, Andrea said. Well. Aren't you just adorable? Howard said. Oh, I know, thanks. Still stealing your bed. Should probably burn the sheets first. Smells like spiders, Andrea said, leaving the room. I'm gonna kill her. Just so you know, Howard said. As long as if it's after we've finished. Dik Beggis and his friends have only today started properly exploring Peak, after all, Weather said. Speaking of which, who's keeping watch on them today? Howard asked. Bella and Thiller, Weather said. The two of them alone, unsupervised. I don't like it, Howard said. Understandable. But do not worry, Howard. Their loyalty is secured. Trust me, Weather said. Back at Peak. Night had now fallen, and Deku was currently outside the clinic. He was on his turn of night watch, just to make sure that the mysterious voice did not attack again. Turns over, partner, David said. David and Jack had come out of the clinic. Why are you hanging upside down? Jack asked. Well. I do a lot of swinging with Black Whip, so I thought I should get used to being upside down, Deku said. You never seize an opportunity to improve yourself, do you? David said. I didn't get to where I am now by not doing so, Deku said. Deku then flipped around, now standing upright. I see you're in your old clothes. What's the special occasion? Deku asked. Couldn't spend the entire day in the clothes I fought a giant slime monster in, no. The clinic has running water and electricity, too, Jack said. Strange. That means someone is keeping this place running, just like it should be with humans. Is it the boss? But why would he? Deku said, starting to mutter. Now here I thought that Penny was the supercomputer. Your mind could easily give her a run for her lion, Jack said. Hey. Thanks, Deku said sheepily, with a small blush. Don't you mean, run for her money? David said. Hey. I'd prefer to be paid in a currency I can use, Deku said. Anyway, you can head back inside now. It's David's turn, Jack said. Actually, partner. Mind if we take a little walk? There's something on my mind. You don't mind being on watch a little longer, Izuku? David asked. I'll just wake Evelyn up and have her take your shift and then you can take her shift, Deku said. You sure that's a good idea? Carrots likes to stay in bed, Jack said. A fact I know all too well, but I'm sure I can convince her with a hug and a few kisses, Deku said. Deku then entered the clinic to wake Evelyn up. Hey, Prof, I'll be outside, me and David will be swapping guard duty. I swear, waking up at this hour is worse than not sleeping at all. Especially when it's not meant to be my turn, Evelyn said. You were gonna have to wake up eventually. Might as well do it early, Deku said. Humph, Evelyn said. Anyway, Jack and David are taking a small stroll before Jack goes to bed, so it'll just be you, David, Penny and Titania, Deku said. Bunnies to Professor. Hello, Evelyn said. Oh, I'm sorry, my students. I was distracted, Peach said. So, what is it that's got you so distracted? Deku asked. This, Peach said. A journal, Evelyn asked. Not just any journal. This is a medical journal, Miss Damerot. And the last entries date back to right before Peak's last known communications, Peach said. That's fantastic. We now have a first-hand account of what happened here, Deku said. Indeed. Although most of it is in some kind of cipher to protect doctor-patient confidentiality, Peach said. Well, that's just great, Evelyn said. For now at least. I'm sure Penny and her father can decipher a key, Deku said. But why just a key? Why not have them decipher the whole thing? Evelyn asked. I have a feeling that teacher wants to be the first to read it, Deku said. Indeed I do, Peach said. Then I'll go ask Penny if she and her father can make a key for the cipher alongside the map, Deku said. Deku then entered the ward. Hey, Penny, we found a journal, that Deku said. Penny was in a green and orange leotard. She was currently standing in front of a mirror checking herself out and touching her chest and butt. Penny. What? Deku said. Oh. Ijuku. I didn't hear you come in, Penny said. I suppose checking yourself out is quite distracting, Deku said. Penny blushed and squirmed at his words. So. What? What are you wearing? Deku asked, blushing as he took in the sight before him. Oh, right, it's the first time you see me in my plug suit. It doesn't look weird or anything, Penny asked. No, not weird. A plug suit, you say? Deku asked. Yes. I usually wear it under my clothes. It's my version of underwear, you could say, Penny said. I see. But why the leotard design? I mean, why not wear something more? Deku said. Oh. Well, my plug suit works as both undergarments and a control unit. It constantly monitors my body and registers any changes to its functions, Penny said. Isn't that what your weekly checkup is for? Deku asked. Indeed. But Peppa felt that a 24/7 coverage was necessary after such a drastic undertaking. As for the mirror gazing and body touching, there are two things. 1. As of recently, for some reason, I found that the control luminous have started tinging with red, Penny said. I see. And is that weird? Deku asked. I guess. They've always kept a shade of green so far. From what I can tell, it's not harmful, but I wonder what it means, Penny said. That does sound weird, yes. You should probably ask your father about it, Deku said. Yes. If you'd like, you can tag along, Penny said. Oh. Well, that'd be a first. Any particular reason why you ask? Deku asked. So you can stop worrying, Penny said. I guess I should, yes, Deku said. So. You find this get-up erotically viable? Penny asked. Well. It does show your figure very well, Deku said. I'm glad you like it. Now I'm 100% positive David will like it tonight, Penny said. So that's the second thing, Deku said. Yes. I am now fully ready for intercourse, and I've asked David if we can do it tonight, Penny said. Oh. I see. Though you might have to wait a while, Evelyn and David are swapping shifts. So I'll leave you be to finish preparing, Deku said. Oh wait. I should have asked you instead. In my excitement I forgot about you, Penny said. What do you mean? Deku asked. I mean, David and Evelyn had their first time together. So for the sake of fairness, we should do the same, Penny said. Penny. It doesn't matter who takes whose first time. All that matters is that we all love each other. Also, Evelyn also took my first time, so it wouldn't really be the same, Deku said. I know, but I still feel somewhat guilty for forgetting about you, Penny said. Well, there's not much you can do now, can you? Deku said. Well. You did say that David will be unavailable for a while longer, so Penny said. But I don't think I'll be able to stop if we did, Deku said, looking away whilst blushing. Penny blushed and felt very hot. Penny then leapt at Deku. If you won't do me, then please satisfy me in other ways, Penny said, taking Deku's hands and placing them on her plum pass. Deku could feel his hands sink into her butt. Deku couldn't resist her anymore. Deku and Penny then started to passionately kiss each other. And I'll make sure to satisfy you as well, Penny said. In the next room over, Professor Peach heard moaning. Young Love Peach said. She then left the clinic and told Evelyn what was going on. Evelyn quickly rushed inside to have a look. She opened the door slightly and looked through the crack to see Penny getting face fucked. She then put her hand down her trousers while she continued to watch. Soon David and Jack returned to the clinic, and they were quite surprised to see Professor Peach on watch. Professor Peach. Why are you on watch? Jack asked. Have we been gone that long? David asked. You haven't. It's just that Miss Damarot is preoccupied watching Mr. Midoriya and Miss Polendina, Peach said. Ah. I see. I'll drag her out, Jack said. Jack then entered the clinic. Enjoy the love between you for as much as you can now. Life won't always allow you to do so, Peach said. What? David said. But that's for future you to worry about. Enjoy your night with Miss Polendina, Peach said, entering the clinic. After finishing up, Penny and Deku then went to have a quick wash. Little did the two know that Titania was awake and heard everything. Soon Deku exited the clinic while Penny remained inside. Had fun, Deku? David asked. I did. And she's all yours for the taking, Deku said. Then I best not leave her waiting, David said. David then entered the clinic. Hey, don't take too long. It's your turn next, Evelyn said. You skipped 30 minutes of your shift to watch them. You don't get to talk about keeping to time, Jack said. We were at it for 30 minutes, Deku asked. More than that, Jack said. Sorry, Deku said. No. It's fine, you two weren't on shift, and I was talking with David. I would just like to go to sleep, Jack said. Well. You can go to sleep. Whether or not you decide to sleep on the floor is your own choice, Deku said. Jack chuckled, but then noticed that Evelyn had an ear to the door. Carrots, Jack said. Yes, Evelyn asked. Listening is rude. Also, you're supposed to be on guard duty, Jack said. Oh, I can multitask, Evelyn said. I'll never get a decent night of sleep again, will I, Jack said. No. Sorry about that, Jack, Deku said. Jack sighed. I wouldn't say so. Here, Evelyn said. Evelyn. Are those earplugs? Jack asked. To commemorate the occasion, Evelyn said. This must be one of the most thoughtful things you've done for me. Thanks, Carrots, Jack said. You're welcome. Though I can't guarantee they'll be enough once we join in. Now, Aiju. You're gonna fuck me harder than you face fucked Penny, Evelyn said. Deku's whole face went a dark shade of red as Evelyn dragged Deku off. Evelyn. Don't. Why am I even trying anymore, Jack said. A while later, Penny and David exited the clinic. Hey, Jack. What's the matter? David asked. Just thinking about the four of you. And how I'm never going to get a good night's sleep ever again, Jack said. Oh. Right. Sorry in advance, David said. I'll make sure that you at least get enough sleep during the week. However, I can't promise anything during the weekend, Penny said. It's fine, you guys. Just make sure to regain in your fun every now and then, Jack said. Speaking of which, where are Izuku and Evelyn? David said. Evelyn took Izuku off somewhere, so as she said have him fuck her harder that he face fucked Penny, after she was done listening to you two, Jack said. Oh. And where did she take him? Penny asked. I don't know. I couldn't be bothered to see, Jack said. Fuck, Evelyn screamed. Tighter, Izuku. Tighter. And fuck me harder, Evelyn screamed. Never mind. I know where they are now, Jack said. I want to go see what they're doing. For research purposes, of course, Penny said. You can just say you're curious about their kinks, David said. Copy that. I want to go see Izuku rail, Evelyn, Penny said. The two then walked off in the direction of Evelyn's screams. Hey, come back. What's the point on being on guard duty, again, when there's no one to guard, Jack said. The three had now come to a wall. They could tell that Deku and Evelyn were on the other side due to the noise. They looked over the wall to see that Deku had tied Evelyn up using Black Whip. They quickly ducked down before either of them could have spotted them. "Oh my gods," David said. "I didn't think Izuku would even entertain the idea of bondage," Penny said. "Well, when we first met him, he didn't seem to be the type to be this into sex," David said. "That's true. Though this gives me some more ideas for my plan," Penny said. "What plan?" David asked. "I'm planning a day out with myself, Izuku and Evelyn. That will end with a pleasurable night with the three of us since he hasn't taken anyone's first time yet," Penny said. "You silly ginger. That's a silly reason for you to plan that sort of thing. But I'll help you nonetheless," David said. "Happy to have you on board. Now let's leave the two bunnies to breed and make this plan into a reality," Penny said. David and Penny then went back to the clinic, while Jack stayed behind. She slumped to the floor and put her hands to her face, as she continued to listen. "What am I thinking?" Jack asked, as she moved one hand under her shirt and the other down her. "And what am I doing?" Jack asked. A long while later, Deku and Evelyn were on the ground completely naked. Deku had his back against a tree whilst Evelyn was passed out on his chest. "Hello Izuku," Thriller said. "Thriller," Deku said, anger rising. "Sush. We don't want to wake up Evelyn, do we?" Thriller said. "So you're not here to fight? Then why are you here?" Deku said. "Weza has us watching your group," Thriller said. "Why?" Deku asked. "I don't know. I guess to have a report on how far you're making it into peak," Thriller said. "But why have you made contact with me?" Deku asked. "The reason I'm making contact with you is that we want information," Thriller said. "Well, you're not getting any," Deku said. "We figured you'd say that. But we're not doing this for Weza," Thriller said. "Then who?" Deku asked. "Us," Thriller said. "Who's us?" Deku asked. "Me and Bella," Thriller said. "Then where is she?" Deku asked. "Hiding. Just in case she wakes up. Anyway, Weza has information on a matter very dear to our hearts and we want to find out more. If it wasn't for that, we would have left already. So, we need something to hold over his head to get what we want," Thriller said. "Then why have you come to me?" Deku asked. "Because you're not a regular human, are you?" Thriller asked. "What are you talking about?" Deku asked. "Don't bother trying to deny it. Bella felt something weird with your aura. Or should I say auras?" Thriller said. Deku's face went wide. "Judging from your reaction, you do have multiple auras," Thriller said. "I do," Deku said. "Care to elaborate?" Thriller asked. "I don't know. Seems like enough information on its own to get Weza interested already," Deku said. "Smart ace. Very well then. If you want to tell us more, just call me on your scroll," Thriller said, grabbing Deku's scroll and exchanging numbers. "Don't I get any information out of this?" Deku asked. "Very well. After telling Weza this, he may be more interested in you more than David," Thriller said. Thriller then left, and Deku could also hear another set of footsteps leaving as well. Deku then got up and put his combat outfit on up to his waist and then covered Evelyn in her clothes before heading back to the clinic. They passed Professor Peach as they entered the clinic, who only just smiled at them. He then placed Evelyn on a bed before climbing in next to her and falling asleep. End of chapter 34.